So what do you train for? Do you train for strength or do you prioritize your physique? So you train for hypertrophy. Like most people think in those terms. You either have to choose one or the other. But what if you didn't have to choose? What if you could build a great physique and at the same time train your strength so that over time you develop all those abilities, all those skills, all those PRs? Because as you know, this whole channel is about building strength and muscle at the same time. This is meant to be the channel about this. And it's all I've been doing throughout my training career. As a regular guy, I was able to put on 20 kilos or 45 pounds of muscle while at the same time building up my strength, learning skills like the human flag or doing a 175 pound or 80 kilo weighted chin-up. Why don't most people do this? It's because they think if you do both, you're gonna be less effective, right, than just someone who specializes. So you're gonna build less muscle than a person who trains for hypertrophy. If you do both, you're gonna build less strength. But when you look at it, what actually happens? And this is exactly what happened to me. But you're gonna see this evidence if you look around. Like many people who train just for strength, like gymnasts, like many powerlifters actually, many people who do calisthenics in general, people who focus on strength, kind of automatically they get, on average, if you look at the whole community, better physiques, enviable physiques, compared to people who specialized in training in the gym. Like this is huge. Like in a reality where we struggle, after the first few months or years of progress, we are stuck in infinite plateaus where, sure, we know the advice, it worked here, how to train, the general principles, but once the problems get hairy in this area, all the advice fails. So what do you do? Like if there's something like this, where people are getting better results than average, is worth looking into, right? And this happened to them by chance, because I started like that. I was training strength as my focus, and I realized I was getting a better physique than most people who train in the gym. What's going on? Over time, I refined this into a whole training philosophy, which I want to share with you, which is very strong, where if instead of letting this happen by chance, so if instead of focusing on strength and getting the great physique by chance, you focus on both at the same time, I'm gonna tell you, the results skyrocket. And you can really look around and kind of find this. So many people who train for hypertrophy, for their physique, often want to also get strong, like they want to improve their bench press, their squat. And many people who train for strength, I'm gonna tell you this, they want to improve their physique. So this can absolutely be done. This is what I want to tell you. And can be a huge unlocker for your training, very important, because there's a lot of overlap right here in the middle between those two worlds that can make this very possible and not less effective, but even more effective than the people who specialize. Like this can be ridiculously huge, right? And by the way, if you're interested in building your strength and your physique, especially at the same time for free, you can get a lot of resources that I created personally in Project Delta, which is the link in the description. And that's not shallow stuff, by the way. Like I put a lot of thought into those resources. Really, you see the videos, but there's a whole other world I'm creating in Project Delta that you don't see. So really, if you're interested, that can be very powerful and you can get it in the link in the description. So the first thing that we see people say, is the general opinion, is that trying to do both at the same time is less effective. So you're gonna build a worse physique, you're gonna be weaker, or you're gonna not improve at all and stay mediocre if you try to build strength and muscle at the same time. But you're gonna learn how not only this is false, it's often more effective. So really, we see that it's very hard to improve in the gym. As I just told you, after the first couple months, it becomes very slow. All the advice seems to stop working. So we know the basic stuff and it stopped working. What do we do? Well, I was curious when I found those great results on myself. So I started training in the gym like a bodybuilder. So to improve my physique, right? I started like that, and then I started experimenting with calisthenics. And this is not about calisthenics at all. It's about strength and hypertrophy. But what happened was, very surprisingly, so this was me improving at the start, newbie gains, was very short, a very short phase, and then I was stuck. Then all of a sudden, I start dabbling into strength, and my physique and strength do this. And they keep going, of course, with some ups and downs, but this was abnormal and quite impressive. So what's going on here, right? And other people around me training like me, many of which, or who I coached when I did coaching, saw similar results, right? So if, like, let's move this here. So if this was the average physique of people who train bodybuilding, even for years, okay? And I started seeing a gap larger and larger between me keeping improving and most people staying there. I saw this with people training like me, some of which went far beyond my level, right? So like up to a national level of strength and everything else. So I started to realize that the power of this was not just in the understanding of training, in the concepts, which I like to talk a lot about, but it was in the actual philosophy of training as well. Like the thing that those people had in common was this philosophy of focusing on strength and then, especially later on, building their physique at the same time, because this kind of repeated until I realized the power of doing both at the same time, also because of the overlap strength and hypertrophy had. And since then, my results kind of went up continuously, a lot more linearly than before, okay? Of course, I've been training for like 12 years. I can put on 5 kilos of muscle a year, but it's pretty rare to say that after this time you can improve reliably. So I found out that people who train like this are not less effective, but more effective. So I mean like people who have very impressive physiques and don't even have a physique as their priority. They have a lot more fun in the gym. Like myself, as you know, I put on like 20 kilos, or what is that? Like 45 pounds of muscle. Like few people can say that. And I know many people who put on more than me, who had a transformation more impressive than mine by training like this. So training for both strength and hypertrophy at the same time, improving your physique and having fun with strength, developing abilities at the same time, is not less effective, even just for building your physique. It's actually often more effective, as you saw here. So that's the first point. But the second point that I want to make here is that actually the normal way of training, the normal bodybuilder way of training, is not fun, or by far not as fun as doing both strength and hypertrophy. Because again, as you know now, I started training like this, normal gym training, and it never really motivated me. So I'm not judging people who enjoy training like that. But for me, training just for appearance felt a bit shallow, okay? It was very boring. very grueling in nature, and in general shallow, that like it wasn't enough to motivate me. But when I tried this, a huge reason for this spike was that for once I was looking forward to training. And this can be huge because training, after all, if you think about it, most of us have a job or are students. Like, training can take a big chunk out of our free time. It can be very meaningful and make a big difference if that time, instead of being just suffering all the time, is something that we enjoy and even look forward to. Of course, training is still hard, but when you view it like this, when you have goals, when you have benchmarks that you keep improving, and on top of that, as we saw, when it's also more effective, it becomes all of a sudden even a highlight in our days, instead of something that we need to drag ourselves to. Okay? This is very important. So my results absolutely started going up when I did this shift, and training became more fun. So training for both strength and hypertrophy can make that part of your life a lot more alive, a lot more stimulating and meaningful. And after years to develop all of those achievements in terms of lifts, PRs that you were able to do. And that those become yours for life. And those are free on top of the physique. Like, if you're already there training, why not doing this? I'm emphasizing this because it is possible and many people don't know it. They don't know it is actually possible to train like this. So, really, I'm all about this. Training for both strength and hypertrophy at the same time is more effective and more fun. And I stand by that. So let's talk for a second about how to do this. Because even if you realize it is more fun, it is more effective, it doesn't make it automatically simpler. Okay, so what do I actually need to do? And I mean, this whole channel is about that, so you can go into hours and hours of detail about this. But there's a few key things that I think you should focus on understanding, like as a priority, okay? So the first one is the first element is hypertrophy, okay? You want to understand exactly how hypertrophy works. Exactly. And this is important because in order to improve, you need to, with confidence, understand why on earth would your body, your muscles grow? Like, why would your physique improve? And you need to be certain about that. You can't just speculate. You can't just jump from philosophy to philosophy. So this is very important. So please commit to learning about this. Of course, I'm doing my best on this channel to share a lot of insights that you can't find elsewhere because they came from my original understanding and simplifying how training works to a level where you can just grab it, apply it, and get results reliably. So really understanding how hypertrophy works and how strength works exactly. Because the two, sure, they do overlap, but in other areas they can be very different. So for example, actually, we're gonna keep that point for later, an example on how strength works. But really, by what I mean in understanding how they work exactly is also like what is the, like, how can I say this? Like, how can I tweak this variable in my training? And there's like 20 variables that you can tweak. So how can I tweak this so that I move the right lever so that I gain hypertrophy pretty much on command? How can I do the same for strength? That's the kind of certainty and understanding that you want to commit to have. Then, once you understand this, which is kind of the theory, another point very important to breaking through plateaus, which is like the biggest enemy that you have after like the first couple months of lifting, is that you want the ability to create programs which are just training plans. Like it's just your instructions for what to do in the gyms, nothing mystical or fancy. But you want to understand how to do this for years. So imagine a strategy that you can take and extend it for however long you want. Because many programs, sure, they maybe give us a little bit of results for a month, 2 months, and then that's it. So you want an understanding that extends for however long you want. Because after all, you have many years. I have many years of training in front of me. So you want to have this knowledge and confidence of programming for years, having a strategy ready for improving for years, a mastery over this. So this is another thing that you want to focus on as goals for your learning. Then you're gonna go in a second into a couple tips. And the last point is that look for this one. Some stuff in training matters 100 times seriously compared to other ideas. So not everything in training is the same. There's plenty of flashy objects that are just distracting, and if you just nail and understand the right things and focus on them, it becomes almost, and I would remove the almost, but almost guaranteed, because I can't make promises, but almost guaranteed, man, that you can get mind-blowing results. There's stuff that matters so much more, like disproportionately in training. So you want to look for this stuff. So we could go into this for hours, but I wanted to give you a couple quick points that you may find very useful. So first is that strength, there you go, strength doesn't need, this is the doesn't need symbol, doesn't need much work. This is very interesting about strength. You may not expect it, but sometimes you need to do like a quarter of what you're normally or what comes intuitive in doing to improve your strength. So, real example, I sometimes train 15 minutes per week, a certain strength movement, not everything, of course, but just 15 minutes a week, and I see my strength continuously going up until it hits a ceiling, which is also determined by the size of your muscles, of course. But strength does not need that much work. This is a pattern that you're gonna see over and over. The next thing that I want to tell you is that you want to do strength before hypertrophy. Okay, strength first, hypertrophy second. So if you have a workout, whether it's in your program or whether you're just going to the gym, it's logical, and it's actually like this, that in order to teach your body, your muscles to be strong, you need to be in the condition when you're strongest, which is at the start of the workout. So you want to do strength always first, and then the hypertrophy work. Then, this is a big one, and very counterintuitive. Have a program. Always. Now, the reason I say this may not be that obvious. So, I observe this on me a lot, and I'm sure you can probably see this on you as well. When I go to the gym or wherever I work out, with a program or without a program, there's kind of a noticeable difference in the quality of the workout and in the amount of workouts that I skip. So when I have a program, just for the sole fact that they have a program, I am like 10 times more consistent. I'm already very consistent because I understood the power of just not skipping workouts. But when I have a program, it makes things that much clearer. It's a commitment. So make sure that you take the time to create your program and always go into the gym with a program. That's a huge tip. And the second thing is that obviously the program makes your training likely more effective than something improvised. And by the way, good programs should be flexible and fun. I'm gonna actually write this. So flex and fun, look at that. Flex and fun. A good program should not be something rigid that you hate. It should be something flexible and fun, and something that you adjust so that it's effective and enjoyable. That's how I teach to create programs. That's how I create mine. But you need to always have a program. It's like free motivation. That's how I would put it. And the final point, and I'm gonna make it in another color because it's so important, is what I want to make the mantra of the channel, because, let's write it first. So it's train hard, don't skip workouts. So if there's one thing that I will repeat to my grave, is train hard, don't skip workouts. Because that's how I came up with this. I thought, what's one thing that if you only did that and nothing else, you would almost be guaranteed to get the results? Like, you could mess everything up, but just train hard and never skip workouts. On the other hand, what's the one thing that if you were to do everything perfectly, like the best program in the world, except that you don't train hard and that you skip workouts? Or even if you skip just one of those two, everything else does not count. Since to some of you this can be very useful, I wanted to make a quick advertisement, from myself, because I always wanted to create one place, just one place where one would find everything you would ever need to know about training, about how to get stronger, how to build muscle, like all the most powerful ideas and models all in one place. And so I set out to do it, and took me 2 years of work, but I made it, and you can get it in Project Delta. Project Delta is the link in the description, and it's free. And once inside, you can get this in the premium tier. So again, this is meant to be the last thing you will ever need. So if you're interested, you can check it out in the link in the description of this video. You don't have to choose between strength and hypertrophy. It's not a versus, it's an and. Strength and hypertrophy. This, as you now know, is probably more effective and more fun at the same time. Please prioritize understanding those components. And after all, I created this channel, as you know, to be the reference channel in the world, hopefully, on building strength and muscle at the same time. This is the secret key that enabled me to get the results that you saw on myself and on many people that I coached very reliably. This is an intangible thing that is not a training variable. It's some overarching philosophy, training both for strength and hypertrophy at the same time. And yet, it can be so powerful. So, training can finally become something that you look forward to instead of something you need to be dragged to the gym every time. So as usual, at the end of every video, I'm gonna leave you with a clip of a lift of mine from my archive, already recent, and a physique update, just for, I guess, proof that I practice what I preach. So you can enjoy that. And I'm gonna see you next week. I got a nice banger coming up, so you want to be sure to be there for that.